I'd like to call the special meetings of the town of Bay-Westfield on Monday, September 16th, 2024 to order at 7:02 p.m. We respectfully acknowledge that Bay-Westfield exists on the traditional Woolastoqua land. The lands of Wapanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between equal nations. The river that runs by our town is known as Woolastoq, along which live Woolastoqua, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. We, the staff and elected representatives, pay respect to the elders past and present and descendants of this land. So good evening, everyone. Some may say that a town is made up of streets, of buildings, of parks, and other infrastructure. And this may be true, but I truly believe our town is made up of its people. Our people are what make this community the beautiful and unique place we all call home. And we lost one of those people last week. Mary Elizabeth Barry Reeves was one of a kind, a tireless volunteer, a socially conscious advocate for those who needed a champion, and a warrior for causes she knew were just. She devoted much of her time and energy to the town and its work, and was instrumental as an example in helping us attain our age-friendly status. Mary leaves a legacy of good work behind. Mary was a mentor and a valued friend, and I will miss her very much. My most heartfelt condolences to her family, her friends, and all the people she touched during her long and very full life. I would like to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you, everybody. And speaking of people, we have a room full of people tonight who are here to talk about the good work they're doing to make our town a better place. So welcome to everyone that is here. I truly appreciate everything you do, and I'm sure I speak for council to say that we appreciate the efforts you go to make our town a better place to live, work, and grow. And I look forward to hearing your presentations. And just as a reminder to everyone watching tonight, our office is closed tomorrow for staff training. Item 4, record of attendance. Let the record reflect that we have full attendance here this evening. Item 5, agenda approval. The motion is the council of the town of Bay-Westfield approve the agenda of September 16th, 2024 as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. Do I have a second? Councillor Belton, thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 6, disclosure of conflict of interest. Are there any?
Your Worship, I'm not declaring a conflict, but I will be removing myself from the council table when Mr. Ryan presents in item 7G.
Thank you, Councillor. Item 7, public hearings, presentations, delegations, petitions. 7A, building the town's budget, and presenting will be James Barrington, our CFO. James, floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, community members, and anyone watching at home, thank you for the time this evening. I'm going to walk you through a brief presentation on the process around building the budget for the town. We have some long-range projections built in there, just to give people an idea of what it takes to build the budget for the town. It really is a year-long process. There's lots of community engagement like this evening, and roundtable discussions with staff and council. Next slide, please, Troy. Okay, so we're going to walk through some brief definitions, look at the process overview, get into a few more details around the 2025 budget process, and then look at the long-range forecast. So it all really starts with the town's vision, mission, and values. This is set out by council, and that's really the starting point when we begin looking at the budget. And then that filters down into priorities and mandate. And it's really from from this that we start to flesh out the budget. And the budget is how do we get to the goals? How do we fund the activities that are required for us to achieve the town's goals? That's what a budget essentially is. So we have several different types of budgets. We have operating budget for the general operations. So this is plowing of the roads, administration, recreation activities that the town puts on. That's the general operations. And that is what everyone's property taxes pay for. We also have a utility budget. So this is the sewage, wastewater facility that the town operates. That's funded directly by the approximately 1,400 homes that are connected to that utility. There's a fee levy per year for every household that's connected to that. And then we also have capital budgets, again for the general operations. This funds all the big equipment that's required, so plows, pickup trucks, any paving operations that are done within the town. And then likewise we have that for the wastewater utility as well. So any work that needs to be done at the lagoon or any of the lift stations or pumping stations around the town. So building a municipal budget is a little different than building a regular budget that a private company may have. So there are some key differences. So redundancy is one that we have to factor in. We have a level of service to provide to residents, and we need to make sure that if there are equipment failures, that we have backups in place. We need to make sure that our infrastructure, particularly around key things like wastewater, is it's up to scratch, it's in good condition, and it's well maintained, because everyone in the town relies on these every day. There's regulations that we need to follow, so there's limits on the amount of funds we can borrow. There are also other regulations we have to follow in terms of operating a wastewater facility. There's testing that goes on, things like that. And in the past few years, there's been significant changes that we've undergone with local governance reform. It's changed some ways in which the budget is being put together and the ways that tax rates are calculated. So if we just look at a brief overview of the process, we have May to December there. It really is a 12-month process. January, February, March, April, we're scanning the environment, what's happening with interest rates, what's happening with inflation, what are we hearing in the community. May, we start to pull all the information together, organise ourselves. June and July we have department meetings, so we meet with all the department heads, listen to what the needs are in their department for the following 12 months. And then we start analysing, thinking, diving into the details a little bit more. In August we start preparing for the Council Strategic Planning Day, and then we get into September and we have evenings like this where we meet with the public and we hear what they have to say. In October we gather a little bit more information as it comes in. We prepare for a public meeting at the end of October. November is a really important time. Our deadline for our budget to be in Fredericton is November 15th. So Council will approve that at the first meeting in November. And in December, we get feedback and questions from local government officials in Fredericton. They delve into some of the numbers and they'll reach out with questions. Why did this go up? Why did this go down? So we work with them to help them understand the numbers a little bit. So as we start to look at the 2025 budget, there's some key assumptions that we made and we've started to pull the numbers together. The first place we started was, what is the cost of providing the current level of service? Council has laid out the level of service they would like administration to provide, so that's our starting point. What does it cost to plough the roads at the frequency they need to be ploughed. Cut the grass to the height that it needs to be. We make sure we've approved several service level increases. We make sure we've captured those and have them adequately costed. We ensure that there's funding for the strategic objectives. And then the end goal is, how do we get to a situation where we have a predictable tax load change over time? So that's really what we're working towards as a long-term goal. So there are some challenges with the 2025 budget. Municipal inflation, it has been high. It's stabilised a little bit. We estimate our inflation that we feel as a town at around 4 to 5%. So what we did was we analysed over the past year how much is the cost of asphalt increased, energy, so EV Power's rates went up 13%. Equipment costs, not just for purchasing but for repairing equipment, that's becoming quite a challenge and an expensive operation. And then the cost of labour. So if we factor in all the cost increases involved with these activities, it equates to around 4 to 5% increase. So people will often hear the term inflation used, and typically that means consumer inflation, which right now is about 2.7%. So the cost impact for the town, unfortunately, is a little more than the average consumer feels. There's been limited new assessment growth. So what we mean by assessment growth is new housing, new construction going up. So there's two ways in which our assessment base can grow. Our existing residents that live here, the value of their houses can go up, and when they get their notice from Service New Brunswick, they would notice that the value of their house has been increased. But if we could have new housing built, then that really is the best outcome, because our assessment value can go up, but it's not on the backs of existing residents. We've had a surplus reduction that we have to bring into the budget of $90,000. This is from the 2023 year. We anticipate provincial funding reductions. There's community grant funding we get from the province. We don't know what our level of funding is for 2025 yet, but it is anticipated that this will be reduced. And then regional costs are increasing. So this would be the cost that we pay to the Fundy Regional Service Commission. We have seen over the past few years these costs going up. It's anticipated that they will go up again for 2025. On the bright side, there are some opportunities. We were fortunate enough to be one of the communities that received Housing Accelerator funding from the federal government. So we're working hard to leverage this for its maximum value. We're looking at other forms of funding through the province, such as RDC, and try to combine those funds so we can get as much value as we can and make those dollars go as far as we can. Insurance, we have a new insurance provider, and some of the community groups here today have been fortunate enough to have those savings passed on. That's really providing us with good value and has helped stem the heavy increases we've had from previous insurance. And as we see new equipment come on board, we will notice increased efficiency. Some of the older equipment we have has a lot of downtime. It takes a lot of effort and energy to repair that equipment and keep it going. But as we get into a cycle of rotating equipment in and out, we should see some efficiencies with that. Long-term budget challenges. So new assessment revenue takes time to come on board. We'll see the nice big building going up in the middle of town there at the moment. That could be 2 years before we see the value of that building hit our assessment base. It's completed, it gets assessed by Service New Brunswick. So these things take time. We're finding that we have increased costs for contracted services. A number of tenders we've put out for work that needs to be done, especially in the last 6 months. We don't get any responses, or if we do, on the high end of where we would like them. So that's becoming a challenge. We will see an increased spend on debt servicing in the coming years. There's projects that will be coming on board and online soon, such as the new Works Garage. We will be borrowing money and we will be increasing our debt servicing. And there are cost pressures from the capital plan. We've all seen the cost of vehicles and equipment go up a lot in the last few years. And this all puts upward pressure on the funds that are required to fund our long-term capital plan. Yes, John?
Can you just back up for a moment, please, Troy? Just for everybody's information, do you see the TV on the table? In 2021, for us to put asphalt on that area, it cost $27. This year, the reason we haven't done a lot of paving is because it was cost $110 to do that same area. So those are the types of inflationary pressures that we're feeling. For that TV, $27 in 2021, this year is $110. Sorry, that makes it real. So.
Yeah, thank you, John. So one of the things that we have is we don't just look at a 1-year budget. We look at 4 years out and try to understand where our challenges are going to be coming from in the future. So what this graph here represents is the new revenue that will be required in the coming years, and this will be taxation revenue. So we can see from the orange line is what we predict that we will need out to 2028. What the blue line represents is a steady 4% increase in revenue. So back in one of the earlier slides, we talked about one of the goals is getting into a cycle of steady, predictable tax load changes. That's what that blue line represents. So that's where we would want to be. So the orange line, you can see that is considerably above the blue line, which is a challenge. And there's a particularly large spike. So we'll be working with administration and with council in the coming weeks and months to try to work out a way how to smooth that orange line down a little closer to the blue line. And there are some ways that we can do that. We have to be smart and strategic, especially around our capital planning. I mentioned earlier that our debt service expenses will be increasing in the coming years. So this graph just represents what percentage of all of our expenses are spent on debt servicing. And debt service costs would include principal repayments and interest. So in 2023, it was just over 4% of expenses. And as we get out to 2029, we will be above 8%. Council has expressed concern about going over 10%. It's not predicted we'll get over 10%. There is a regulation, a provincial regulation, that we cannot be over 20. So we're well below the regulation and just below where council would like us to be. This last graph, this shows again another challenge that we have when we look at our capital planning. So this is the cost of debt repayments, but also cash that we would use on a yearly basis to fund the capital items. So paving projects, vehicles, other equipment we may need. And you can see the orange line is where we're projected to be, and then the blue line is really where we can afford to be. So there's a gap. We can see that there's a gap, and we're going to be working again strategically in a smart way. How do we close that gap but still get the objectives of council met? It can be done. We just have to be smart about how we do that. The best part about this graph is we know that there's a challenge. If we didn't know there's a challenge, then we'd be in trouble. But we can see that and we can work towards resolving it. Thank you for the time this evening, council. If there are any Any questions? Troy, if you could just go back a slide. We love feedback, we love input, so that's how we can be reached. Please send your feedback in. We love to hear it. And that's what this evening's all about, so thank you to all the community members that came along. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jane. Any questions for the council at this point? There being none, the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file this information. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7B, we have a presentation from the Grand Bay-Westfield Business Owners Group. And we with Jeremy Hayward, and we also say that Connection Works is here as well with Heather. Hello, Heather, it's nice to see you. Welcome to our council chambers. We're interested to hear what you have to say, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, council members. Appreciate the time tonight. We're here tonight to share some information from our business owners group from the past year. I was up here last year as well, and after a couple of years, I'm happy to be back up here again. I brought Heather with me today because we're going to speak on co-working space and our desire to hopefully have something up here in partnership with the town. So I thought, who should I bring along with me but to give some information, but Heather, who is co-owner of Connection Works in St. John. So thank you for coming, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
So the reason we're here today, the reason we're here is to strengthen our collaboration, to improve our business environment in the community, and to build a supportive and resilient business community here in the town of Grand Bay. Our year in review, some of the things that we accomplished this year, strengthening connection locally here and regionally. We're able to do some work with Envision St. John and continue that with Envision's Director of Entrepreneurship. Craig came in and did a discussion on economic development up at Brundage Point last month with our members, and John was there and some other members from the town to provide an overview of the agency's strategic priorities and to invite members to leverage the region's business resources. It was well attended, and we had a great night. Along with that, that same night, the St. John Regional Chamber of Commerce came up, and we were able to facilitate a bit of a session where the vice chair from the board, who is Eleanor, who's new to the group, she was able to facilitate a focus group following the presentation for the members to discuss their interest in the chamber and what the chamber could do for the community here. So that was a really good night, and we got some good information back from that. Business Owners Group founding members, Melanie Crowley, who's with us tonight behind us, sits on the Chamber Member Retention Committee with the Chamber of Commerce under the leadership of Tracy, and of course Eleanor as well as part of the board. Eleanor has joined our local group as a connection back into the city and taking over Melissa's spot, who was in that position from Pizza Delights, and we appreciate that. We co-hosted 2 entrepreneur workshops with members at Brundage Point. I know Connection Works, I believe, helped with that one of those, and that was well attended as well. So we're really great to bring some entrepreneur learnings on finance and marketing to the community. And we hosted 3 business mixers, I think. Was it 3 or 2? 3 business mixers. So we had 3 this year, which was nice. And the last one was at Gary's house and was quite well attended, actually. So Gary and his backyard. So, and we were up at the golf course as well this year. So our mission is simple: support local businesses and drive community growth. That's why Gary put this group together with the team, and why I got involved a couple of years ago. We partner with local government as well here and in the city to try to bridge those gaps. And our current membership includes more than XX. We have 53 members on our list today. I just found out tonight from Jeff, who gave us that information, so thank you. So one of the things that we want to do is go over a few things we want to collaborate on today. These are just a high level of things we're going to go on. We want to partner with the town for a bylaw review, and not necessarily a full bylaw review, but more specifically around the peddler's licenses for the businesses here in the community, and I'll go over that here more in a minute. As we spoke earlier, why Heather's here with us today, create a shared physical workspace for local entrepreneurs and community members to use. If we can do that in conjunction with the community, that would be something we're looking to do. And encourage town planning and more town planning involved in construction of new spaces. That's what we're seeing on River Valley Drive. I want to continue to see that. I know coming down the road today, I got stuck in a traffic jam, and I know for a lot of people that might be frustration, but for somebody from a big city, that's progress. I think that's a good thing to see it carrying here, so I think that's great. So first, and I may call on Gary to give me some of his feedback here. Some of our members are asking a little bit about the peddler's licenses here. I wonder if there's an opportunity maybe to look at that, open it up, and simplify it. Gary, if you want to come up, maybe just give a bit of context as to what you're looking for here and what we've heard.
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah, I understand that you guys have done a tremendous amount of work going over the bylaws and stuff like that. What Jeremy was talking about with the bylaw review is more around the peddler's agreement. That particular bylaw in the town of Grand Bay hasn't been reviewed since 1998, as it's posted on the website. Other communities around our area in southern New Brunswick have peddler's agreements. Some do, some don't. But what I'd like to do is review what the bylaw states, how much it costs, what the duration is and stuff like that, and see if we can get an agreement where it's very much in line with everybody else. Looking at the town's available spaces to see where we can create opportunities for entrepreneurs. We all understand that after the pandemic, a lot of businesses don't have brick and mortar anymore. They don't have that storefront anymore. So they need opportunities to get in front of their clientele. So there's definitely some opportunity there for us to kind of look at what the town has to offer and maybe create some spaces. I'm not saying that we need an Area 50, 506 or anything like that, but this is a prime example of thinking outside the box and what we can do to create a little bit of a buzz in our community. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Right. Who wouldn't like pop-up stores all over town? Okay, co-working space and business hub. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while, and we brought it up on the table. You know, with the town support, if we had a local business hub and something small for local entrepreneurs or potentially entrepreneurs from the city to come out here and spend the day at work. I know for me, working in co-working spaces, I have memberships at 2 of them, and I use them quite frequently. And I look for those spaces as an entrepreneur that moves around, and I know there's a lot of us here. With the town support, this will encourage local entrepreneurs' growth. Getting entrepreneurs together in one space fosters collaboration and learning, which I think is a great thing. Efficient business networking and collaboration, business support services, especially if somebody potentially Connection wants to become a partner, that could further develop those opportunities for learnings and potentially programs that may come in at some point in the future. Common meeting spaces, places where community can come in if there's businesses or if there's community involvement, there can be community spaces there. And it really just shows that pride in community, pride in the community, having a hub where local businesses can come and share. Sometimes people don't want to go into town or they just don't have that space to go and they're in their homes in basements, so maybe they would pay for a service to come and have some space. So with that, I'd like to invite Heather here to come up and talk a little bit about Connection Works and what that looks like and what a potential partnership might look like.
I've just been given the 2-minute
2
warning.
minutes? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, quick. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here today. Connection Works is a collaborative working space. So it brings people together that are, now remote jobs are so popular. People are contained to their home. Sometimes it's not eloquent to work from home. You have small children, dogs, a lot of neighbors, who knows? And it makes it very difficult. I see a great heightened level of mental health issues we're going to see a lot more of this. I'm starting to see more people coming and calling us and saying, are you a shared workspace? I've got to get out of my home. I can't do this anymore. I just need to be around people. And originally we thought, going home and working from home would be great. But you can get very distracted and you lose your quality of your work day. And it's really important for your mindset and your health to be around people, especially when you're in a working environment. It's super important. what I'm here to support today is just that if you're looking at the opportunity of bringing a collaborative space together, I really want to help champion that. I really want to help you create the vibrancy that Connection Works brings to its members and to its community. The core of St. John, my heart sticks true to Grand Bay. I was a West Sider growing up, and I spent a lot of my time here. So I'd love to see it prosper and grow. Lots of more community people, a lot more community-minded people, a lot of opportunities for our families and our kids not to have to move away. So that's a real sense of collaboration to the community support. And I think everybody in here in this room could use a space that's a shared co-working space at some time. And memberships can be all variations. They can be very small to something that is established. So that's a great vision for a revenue opportunity for future. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
More or less looking for collaboration and future conversations on this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I had one more, but that's it for now. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Do we have any questions from council before you two take off? I just want to make, Jeremy and Heather, just want to make sure we don't have any questions from council for you, okay?
Sorry.
Do we have any questions from council?
Just one, Your Worship. Jeremy, what percentage of your current membership would be home-based businesses without any type of bricks and mortar office or storefront? Ballpark. Would it be over?
60%, 60%.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you to Gary and Jeremy and Heather for presenting to us this evening. The motions of the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive as information for budget discussions. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Bellmans. Do I have a second? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. And we have item 7C, Crane Mountain Enhancement Inc. And we have John Dowd here with us here this evening. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors. So I am president of Crane Mountain Enhancement Inc. I will go through today just what my objective today is. I'll talk about our role, who we are and what we do. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on our concerns. They're in your presentation. There are some very technical parts to that. I'm going to skip through those. I want to talk about our plans and goals, what exactly is happening right now. That's what we're going to see. So my objective is to explain who we are. You need to understand who we are with respect to the landfill. Everybody knows the landfill, it's there, Crane Mountain is there, and we are an organization that is separate from, but unfortunately managed by the landfill. I need to explain what our concerns with the current operation and the monitoring of the landfill, and that is very important for this whole community. I'll present my plans and goals, and I have a request for financial assistance. Who are we? We're an independent, community-based advisory committee. We are responsible for monitoring every aspect of the operation of the Crane Mountain landfill. So anything that goes on there, we should be aware of it. We're trying to make sure they're doing things right, they're following all the rules and regulations. We were created by an order in council from the New Brunswick government back in 1996. That it was the approval to build Crane Mountain, and one of the conditions was that there would be a community group to monitor it. We are the watchdog on behalf of the hosting community. What is the hosting community? It starts in South Bay, and it runs all the way up the river as far as the flashing light, which was the old boundary of Grand Bay-Westfield. When Grand Bay-Westfield expanded in the recent reorganization, we approached the minister and said, does our hosting community expand? And the minister said no. So that's where the people we we call them our customers. What do? We monitor the operations of the facility. So anything that goes on in Crown Mountain, we're trying to be aware of what's going on. We act as your eyes and ears. We're responsible for reporting to Fundy Regional Service Commission to say, here are our concerns, here are the community concerns, and to go back to the community to say, this is what we found, this is the FRSC's response to your concerns. We have one smaller duty, that is, we oversee the Fundy Region community funding. We have a subcommittee for special projects. People in the hosting community who, we've done projects for Scouts, we've done projects for schools, the Blueberry Hill, and other places like that. We don't actually provide the funding. Crane Mountain sets the funding aside. We collect the applications, we review the applications, we recommend to Fundy Region who gets the money, and then we oversee to make sure that the project is done and the money gets through and gets to the community organization. Our funding comes from the landfill, and that again is part of the agreement between CMEI and Fundy Regional Service Commission. We are 100% funded by that. I'm going to run through these very quickly. If you do have any questions, stop me and I'll try and answer them. Technology has changed. The technology since 1996, when the landfill was first designed, is far superior to what it was. There are rules changed. EPA and Environment Canada changing the rules. Climate change is now more of an issue. But the issue that is the biggest concern to us is any leakage from the landfill can get into the groundwater. There are 1,000 private wells downstream of the landfill. The town of Bay-Westfield probably, and I can only say probably, is not directly impacted by any leakage, but that's not truly known because we really don't understand the details of the bedrock underneath the landfill. It's fractured bedrock, there are horizontal fractures, there are vertical fractures. We're not sure what the paths might be. We expect the major path will be to those 1,000 wells. It could possibly affect Grand Bay-Westfield. And there's about 10 kilometers of housing down that have those 1,000 wells. The local streams, if any of the local streams get contaminated, they go right into the Woolastock, into the St. John River, and onto the Bay of Fundy. The fractured bedrock was identified in 2009 study report. That was 10 years after the landfill had been started. And the paths are very localized, so it's very hard to find them. There are drains underneath, there's groundwater monitoring wells. We feel that there's not enough. We've raised this concern, and some monitoring wells have failed, and there doesn't seem to be any mitigation. The concern is leachate, and when you get rainwater through a landfill, it settles down to the bottom, it picks up all of the contaminants, and that is, at the moment, it's pumped off to Lancaster wastewater, but if it leaks, or I will replace that word, when it leaks, then it gets into the groundwater. And they've recently discovered through much research that forever chemicals, PFOS, PFAS, you'll hear that term, is now in leachate, and as is microplastics. So these are things that we are understanding are a major health concern, an upcoming health concern. Methane emissions, everybody knows about landfill gas and greenhouse gases and global warming. That's a major concern. Included in the landfill gas is hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and what are called VOCs, volatile organic compounds. That's the smell, and we all hear almost daily complaints about the smell from residents of Grand Bay-Westfield and the hosted community. Community environment, as I said, there's 1,000 private wells. Grand Bay-Westfield is planning to grow. That is the top of the landfill.
Mr. Dennis got the 2-minute warning.
Thank you, I've almost finished. 90 feet on top of that is an eyesore. And your residents will have to drive by it. Those trees are about 40 feet high, so I'll leave that with you. We are currently fighting the landfill height increase. The Minister of Environment has issued a certificate of determination. We have attempted to raise our concerns to the Minister, and we have failed completely. We've made presentations in Fundy Region. They have not been successful. We've asked them to pause. They have not been successful. We've taken a drastic step which is totally outside of our normal procedures. We've hired a lawyer. He has filed an application with the court in St. John requesting a judicial review. So we are asking the court to throw out the minister's certificate of determination. That is going to be a major fight. Our intention is to reverse the minister's decision. We want to initiate a full environmental impact assessment. And everybody says, oh, well, there was an EIA done. No, it was not an EIA. It was an EIA registration document, which looks like an EIA. It sort of covers some of the things on the EIA. It doesn't contain the detail that a full EIA is requested. And that's what we're trying to achieve. Just so you know, we're from 2023, we received 27,000 from the FRSC. We spend almost 9,000 of it for an environmental engineering consultant, a company out of Moncton called EXP, who provide all our technical information. We've also got some amortization. The cost of the judicial review, we're expecting, including the EXP and legal fees, at least 50,000. We have no idea if that's going to be enough. Legal fees can drag on. If the provincial government decides to fight us, it's going to cost us more. We're going to run out of money. The environmental engineering consultant, they did a lot of work through the EIA registration, evaluating that. We've already spent 20,000 this year just on that side of it. Our current status is we have about 54,000. That may not be enough. We're requesting 50,000 from Grand Bay-Westfield, if you can find it in your budget. If we don't need it, if the Minister of Environment says, yep, I'm going to reverse my decision, we won't need it, we won't take it.
Thank you, Mr. Deb. I'm going to open up the floor to questions from council. Anybody have any? Councilor Bellin?
So if this height goes through, right, and you guys are an advisory committee board, we get dissolved because you really don't listen to you guys. It sounds like they're not listening to you. They're going to go with their own. So why are you there then after this?
That's a good question. We have been fighting. It's our job. The Minister of the Environment, essentially, in 1996 said we had to exist. So they have to keep us. They have to keep us there no matter what.
To do what then?
To keep monitoring, to keep trying to fight them. That's why we're here. We're here trying to make sure they're running the operation of the landfill properly. And that is our primary focus, is focusing on the operation and the monitoring of it, making sure that they are running all of keeping to all the rules of the landfill.
It seems like you're plugging your ears to that.
They tend to ignore us.
Yeah.
We've made recommendations in 2009, 2010 that they've ignored. We did in 2019, there was a project to build a quarry project and clay pit in Accomack Backlands Road. We managed to persuade the minister to throw conditions onto his approval of that project that caused the FRSC to reverse the idea of moving ahead. It was going to cost them too much to maintain our conditions. Our problem right now is the minister has not heard from us. He's refused to meet with us. We did have one meeting set up, coming up. Actually, it was supposed to be yesterday, but once we filed the application with the court, they canceled that meeting.
Yeah.
Mr. Deb, but just before, I was going to make sure nobody else has any questions, and then we'll come back to you, Council. Did Councilor Fitch any other questions for Mr. Deb?
I recommend maybe you should get a picture of the landfill existing now, put in your render and make it like a mock thing, how the height's gonna be on a picture to show the public. Maybe make that resonate with people who drive by, say we're at a mountain, go by, a man-made mountain.
We could, yes. We haven't done that. Part of the problem is that the EIA registration document has exactly that, but it's done from a height, so it looks like it's only going to go this high, and it's not going to be very big.
What's in that picture you're showing, we should just.
I'd have to play around with it. I'm not sure if we will have to find
Give you
something.
an idea when you're driving by to, you're driving by a mountain, maybe like lots of shade or on.
It is going to be
Or maybe
huge.
ski slope.
90 feet is going to be large.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Councilor Berkey?
Thank you. So, just a question, when you do have concerns and issues and you raise them, do they respond or they?
Usually, most of them they respond. I mean, most of the time we've got a good working relationship with Crane Mountain, with the management of Crane Mountain, and they do tend to listen to us most of the time. But on this particular item, they have not listened to us. As I say, in the past, they've ignored some recommendations that we've had. Early on in the life, in the early 2000s, there were a lot of complaints about the smell. We reported that to the landfill. They did do some work. It did mitigate it somewhat. So they do listen to us. As I say, usually we have a good relationship with them, and they do tend to listen to us. But in this particular case, not that they haven't.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Dowd? Thank you very much for.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your expertise and your time. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive as information for budget discussion. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Do I have a second? Councilor McIntosh Lawrence, thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. We have 7D. We have River Valley Community Center here with Alex Clara. Welcome, Alex. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I'm supposed to remind you that you only have 10 minutes.
Not a problem.
Trying to keep the meeting on schedule.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. As you know, the River Valley Community Center has been open since 1996, 3 years before I was actually born. We're coming into our 29th year in operation. I'm here tonight for a request for funding for our 2025 budget. Tonight I'm just going to do a quick financial review of both our 2023 year and our 2024 year so far, and outlook into the end of the year. I'll do a 2025 financial outlook based on some higher points of our budget. If there's any more information that you would like to hear based on that budget, I'd be happy to provide it to you as well after the meeting. And then I'm also going to do a quick strategic review of just kind of our 4 sections. I believe back in 2022, strategic plan was done in unison with the town of Grand Bay-Westfield. I've been in this position now for 16 months. I just want to kind of give the council and yourself, Mayor, a benchmark of where we are, where our outlook is for the end of this year and into next year as well. So this is our 2023 financial review. Some of our notable revenues include what we always have, our ice rentals revenues, room rentals. We were fortunate enough to get a CMEI grant last year for a new de-superheater tank, which essentially is heat that comes from our ice plant and preheats our water, helps with our power and energy consumption. Our canteen had another great year, and then obviously our town funding. We were also able to host our first JCA straw, which led to some increases in our fundraising as well. As you can see on the other side, just some of our kind of high-level expenses that we usually see. So our payroll, our maintenance and supplies, which primarily focuses on our ice plant and our Zamboni, and then finally our utilities. We did see a $30,000 loss in 2023. This is our 2024 financial review, same kind of high-level points. Our ice rentals fundraising is higher increase. As I mentioned, our JCAs did go almost all the way to the end, so we were able to keep the cards rolling and fundraise $46,000 during the year. $36,000 of that coming from our JCA straw, which mitigated some of our loss that we were going to see in 2024. We are still projecting about a $4,600 loss in 2024. Now our 2025 financial outlook. As I mentioned, our ice rentals is our big talking point. The last 2 years, we have had some difficulty with our ice as the seasons change and September gets warmer and April gets warmer. It's difficult keeping ice, but we've been able to mitigate some of that by hosting different kinds of events, such as a community cup tournament at the rink at the end of April. We take out a weekend of hockey to host a tournament. It's a fundraising effort, but it also gives us a reason to have people on the ice in the facility and increase our revenues. Fundraising, along with our kind of community events such as Rock the Rink, boxing events, wrestling events. We're also planning on hopefully running a Chase the Ace Draw again this year. Our room rentals, again, are pretty steady with Blossom's Daycare, Urban Dance being our primary renters in the facility, as well as daily rentals such as classes, courses, and then finally our canteen sales. Now in our expenses, you're going to notice a few things. With our payroll, we're going to see a lower cost this year. We aren't open as early as we were in previous years. That's going to push back some of the money that we would have spent on payroll expenses for the year. We also do get grants for everything outside of the ice, such as summer camp programs, which we run, but those are included in our payroll expenses. Our equipment is what we would spend typically a year on our Zamboni. That's refurbishing and retooling. Maintenance and supplies includes things such as the ice plant, any upgrades through our Simcoe. The big one coming up this year is an overhaul on our main compressor. Those have to be done about every 9,000 working hours. So we'll have one done this year, one done next year. It's really important that items like this in the ice plant are taken care of. As I mentioned, it's an older facility, 29 years. We don't want to run into an issue where a compressor fails, we lose ice and see a loss in revenue. So it's preventative measures. And heat and power, obviously energy costs are increasing. We do continue to kind of work towards a more green imprint, our de-superheater being one project, and with the great help that CMEI has given us through grants, we've been able to add on new things to try to lower our energy consumption. As you know, an ice plant is not exactly it is a workhorse when it comes to energy and electricity, but we've been working well towards that. My funding request I've come here today is $115,000. That's based on our projections for our 2025 budget, as well as a review of our 2024 and 2023 budget. Now I'll take you through a quick strat plan review. That photo there, that's our main compressor. That'll be the one that'll be retooled next year. So I'll start with our governance section. We introduced a self-assessment process for the board of directors. We'll reintroduced it this year in order to enhance the emphasis on how we're going to get to our strategic goals within the plan. It was well received. Our ongoing, as we continue to kind of develop and work towards those strategic goals, include business plans, annual reviews of our strat plan, which we have done before, but we continue to do into next year. We're undertaking a bylaw review and possible amendments to the bylaw. We're creating a draft of a policy manual, and we're forming a comprehensive risk of all our facility costs and strategic outlook. I know a big talking point is, where do we see ourselves in 5-10 years? We're working with our partners at Simcoe Refrigeration to know kind of where the facility lies down the road. So we're moving strides towards that. That's where our compressor came into effect. But as we continue to do that, we'll be able to continue to assess our financial future, but also mitigate any risks that may be coming to the facility. Our operations side, we enhanced our administration services last year. That included going to RecTime software, which we partnered with the town of Bay-Westfield to introduce. It's a booking system online that allows people within the community to book themselves in for ice times, room rentals, whatever they prefer. This also allows us to gauge a better monetary value on both our booking hours and set our rates. Before, it was a lot of documentation where we would cipher through to figure out the allocation of how our ice was being used. Now we can see it within a couple clicks. This will be our first ice season using it, So once we go back into 2026, we have our budget, we'll have hard data through this program, which will see how we used our facility in the 2024, start of 2025. We are undertaking biannual audits of our maintenance and repair schedules. As I've mentioned a couple times, it's an aging facility, we need to keep up with the work. And we do that every winter and summer season. And we conducted a facility signage review. I'm not sure if anybody's seen in the first picture there. I had a new sign outside of River Valley Community Center. We're also looking at options within the facility for more inclusive signage for people that are visiting, whether they be for hockey, group events, or community events. The ongoing side is on there as well. It's just updating protocols towards our rental allocation and creating a volunteer recruitment, because the facility wouldn't be able to run with it. Our communication side, we developed a brand guide last year in order to enhance our communication with marketing, promotion, and our site itself, and become recognizable. We've developed procedures for getting information out to users, whether that be through our social media, through working with communications here at the town of Grand Bay-Westfield, or through advertising within the community for events. And we've also developed positive messaging to bring RBCC as a family-friendly community organization, where it's not only for recreation and sport, but community as well. Finally, finance. We've updated our technology for financial reporting through our accounting software, and we're undertaking reviews of our fees yearly based on our own data now that we are able to collect, as well as other towns, cities within the region. This helps us be able to set and be competitive while also maintaining our financial needs. And I just want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. We continue to look forward to working with the town to foster a stronger community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Just if you just stay right there, I'll open the floor to questions from council. Councilor McIntosh Lawrence.
I just have a quick question on the fundraising outlook.
Yep.
It's 28,000 down from 46. Is that different specifically Chase Case?
Yeah, so it is, but it's not. The problem with Chase the Ace is that it's really backloaded. So if we outlook for our draw to start, say at the start of November, and it goes, we have to wait to have another draw. So the plan would be, yes, we get some backloading in 2025 at the start, but hopefully we get some front loading at the beginning or end of 2025 into the new season. So yeah, it would be like we're getting half of a draw, not a full one. Whereas you could see in our 2023 financials, we did have some of that Chase the Ace allocated in there, but whereas the hockey season kind of begins in our main season in September, October, then that's when we launch our draw. Hope that answers the question.
Councilor Bellamy?
Well, you cut back hours at the rink, right? You said you're starting up later in the day?
Yes.
What time you starting now?
Just the season. So we used to put our ice in at the second week of September. We're now going the third.
Oh, it's the season,
Yes.
the daytime, like the running of the day, like.
No, same hours. We actually increased our hours this year. So we added a couple more later ice times in order to try to mitigate any loss that we would have saw in the first week of not having ice in the facility.
Any other questions from Councilor McIntosh Lawrence?
I have another question about the rec time.
Sure.
I'm assuming most of the ice is booked now. How did that booking format work? Like, did you find it successful?
Oh, very.
This year? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a work in progress with the users getting on to see their own bookings. But in terms of kind of being transparent with how we're booking our ice,
Right.
it was a huge benefit, which I saw last year as a bit of a deterrent when groups would come and look for that ice time and they weren't sure where it was being allocated or how it was being allocated, or they couldn't see it. A lot of my emails last year would be, well, I'm looking for an ice time, and that was within an 8-month window. Now I can send them to the site and they can kind of find their own. So it has been definitely beneficial, and not only for that part, but like I said, the allocation, once we kind of get through at least half of our season here, where we can see cancellations, new bookings, is going to be extremely beneficial, I believe, going forward.
have any other questions from council? I have to stick to a quick one, Alex, if
Sure.
that's okay. So I'm just looking at your expected expenses from 2025 compared to 2024.
Sure.
And there's about a $2,000 difference. So can you sort of explain to me where the gaps are gonna be between funding and expected expenses between the 2 years? Because the allocation is a little bit bigger than last year.
Yeah, it's going to be that the compressor system that we're putting in the ice plant. So it technically should be a $15,000 gap. Like last year when we came here to ask for funding, we ended up getting around $97,000. So ballpark wise, if I was going to come again with the same, outlook on the year, I would be in the same area where we have this $15,000 project that we know is coming up, and it's not really a if we can fit it in, we're going to have to do it, and that's where the difference comes. Now, however, we have been able, like I said, to mitigate a bit of that through our revenues, our events, but that would be the difference in the 2 years.
I just have another couple of questions. So if council has more questions, please let me know and I'll defer to you first. What type of grant application plan is there in place? Maybe through the Green Municipal Fund or through other potential funders?
Yeah, so our big one, as I mentioned, is the CMEI grant, which we apply for every year. We've also been looking at the Green Inclusive Building grant. We applied for it last year, we weren't awarded it. However, we are looking at upgrading our lighting primarily. I believe going to LEDs within the facility would be a huge benefit, both to the look of the facility, but also our energy costs. So that's a big one for this year. I just had 2 vendors in to give me some quotes on the numbers for this year as well. A main concern for us is how can we make our facility more efficient, thus reducing costs and not losing the quality that we're able to produce. And it's ice plant that's going to make that difference, as well as any electricity costs that we're going to foresee as well.
And what is your reserve position right now?
I'd have to get you the hard numbers after the meeting, but we did have to remove 10,000 of it last year.
Right, and so I guess my question is there's a lot of equipment in the building that you're always having to renew and plan for breakdowns, etc. Are there any plans in place to develop a 5-year capital plan or a 5-year rolling budget so you can look to the future and have a more efficient way of budgeting going forward, knowing that this is coming along in 2029?
Yeah, it's actually already in the works, so we started last year. Our main vendor for our services on the ice plant, Simcoe, sat down with me and we looked at kind of where the facility sees itself within a 5-10 year window. Now there's 2 directions that you can take. There's the sustainability direction, or there's, how do you want to become more involved within the community or become bigger. Sustainability is kind of my focus at the moment. But yes, there have been, that's where the compressor rebuild came out of, and I'm learning kind of a lot more about the man hours that come behind the equipment within the facility itself. For example, a floor surface within an ice arena lasts about 30 years, we're in 29. Now our floor surface has held up really well without cracking, so I see, and our vendors agree, at least 10 more years of it, but that's one project that's going to be coming up in the future. And then if you look at the facility itself, roofing, windows, but yes, that's all in the works as part of the strategic plan.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, and I just want to commend you. There's a lot of good work being done here. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
So the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive as information for budget discussion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilor Balcon, thank you. Do I have a second? Councilor Bellman. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 7E, Westfield District Recreation Association Inc. And we have Debbie Chalkowski here with us this evening. Welcome, Debbie, and as a reminder, you have 10 minutes.
10 minutes, well, that's like 10 minutes. Thank you for inviting us, and we appreciate the opportunity to come to you for.
And just Debbie, would you mind introducing who you have?
Yes. So this is Samantha Weldon. She is our treasurer, and I'm here representing the Westfield and District Recreation Association.
Welcome, Samantha.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing us this time
present. I'm gonna talk about the association and the plans that we've done in the past year, and what we're gonna do in the future year, and Samantha's gonna walk you through all the numbers. So, our association was started 15 years ago, and we are 6 board members, all volunteers. In fact, a lot of the people that help with our association are all volunteers. We have an AGM every December, and that everyone is welcome to attend. We've had, over the past year, we've done a lot of new activities. We've had Kids in the Kitchen. We've had a gingerbread house building contest with families. And we want to keep on working with those projects. We want to, of course, we always have our dirt road parade and the pool. I'll get into the pool project, but we always have our swimming and then of course the rink at the Four Corners. So we lease out that property at the Four Corners for $1 a year, for a 20-year lease, and we're just into our 5th or 6th year, so we have lots of time to work on that. We just had our ball field resurfaced or leveled out, so we are working on getting more projects in the ball field. We've done, of course, we also do Winterfest. That's another one of our big projects that we host at the rink. This year, coming year, we're going to be having the Sea Dogs invited, and we're going to be doing a little session. I'm leaving that up to them, but it's going to be fun. I know that. And so this year, coming year, we've decided every month we're going to have an activity, whether it's sliding at Low Water Farm, or like a sliding party. Of course, there's Winterfest. We plan to do Witches on the Water, Grand Bay-Westfield. We're not going to worry about Hampton or New River. It's going to be Grand Bay, so we're excited about that. We found out plenty of movie nights and snowshoe hikes and things like that, moonlight hikes. We found out that we are now the recipients of the Chase the A's. It's now gone, but we're going to be the next in line, and it's going to be geared towards the pool project. That's our heart and soul is like the pool project. And as you know, we've been providing swimming lessons to the youth in our community for over 20 years, 25 years. So we just recently lost our pool. And so we are desperate for a pool. And the community is desperate for a pool. So we want to get on that. And so this Chase the Ace is going to be part of some investment for that. And of course, we're going to go to the CIF with grants and any grants we can get our hands on to work with that. But that is a mandate for us, a pool. We need a pool. We also would like to work on a dock system for our community. We have a resident in Grand Bay-Westfield that's willing to donate land right on the Nericus Road, and they'll take you right to the Nericus River, and he's willing to build a boardwalk. So we want to work on that project. That's part of our ideas, what we want to do. We also, as a recreation, we also do adult sports. We have badminton, basketball, and pickleball in our communities. Some are done at Westfield, elementary school. Some are done at River Valley Community Middle School. But gym time is there's no gym time. So we're having an awful hard time finding a place to have our recreation. So we're going to do some field work in the field. We want to do flag football. We want to do spike ball. I don't even know what that is, but spike ball is, and again, it's all run by volunteers in our community. And they're so enthusiastic. It's amazing what our volunteers are doing up there. But so far, just the schools alone, we've donated over $5,000 just to the schools for use of their gym. So other than that, I'm going to leave it up to Samantha.
So Debbie noted a lot of our ideas that we have. In order to fund those, we need help from the town and other grants. We ran into a bit of a problem this year applying for grants because we've never had a financial review or an audit done. So we're requesting funds from the town this year to help with the financial review so we can apply for more grants and involve the community more. Excuse me. We also had a grant last year that we got for a storage container up at our rink. We're looking to hopefully put some windows and doors in there for a place to store skates for everyone. And we're hoping to eventually have a canteen up there as well. And this year, we put in the budget for events because we have so many ideas coming. We really want to engage the community more, but in order to do so, again, we need some funding. So Debbie, she noted a lot of them. There's a few more like learn to skate. We're looking at maybe a sliding party. We're hoping every month during the year we can have an event for the community is kind of where we're looking towards. We do Winterfest, which is on the water. We're looking to have a kickoff to summer this year for all the students when they're done school. So that's really what we're looking for financial assistance for this year. Do you have any other comments?
No,
Yes.
no. So we're asking for 10,000.
This year, a bit of an increase. Yes, for again, our financial review and a few more events that we'd like to plan in the community.
Thank you very much, Samantha. Thank you, Debbie. I'm just going to open the floor to questions from council. Do we have any questions? Councillor Bell?
One, Your Worship. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
I'm wondering where your association is both, and its residents fit both into the newly expanded town of Grand Bay-Westfield and also into the Fundy Rural District. Is there a provision for your association to make application through the Fundy Rural District representatives to the Fundy Region Service Commission for assistance, and assistance that might be not so much grant, but 1 cent or half a cent on the tax rate?
That would be a question for Ray Riddell.
Right. I want to back up here tonight.
Please.
Fundy Rural District will be taking an application from the association, has in the past contributed to the budget.
Through the tax base, through the tax rate, Mr.
Actually, the former Westfield West LSD.
Okay.
Because the Fundy Rural District does not have a one tax rate, so the residents of the former LSD of Westfield West have been contributing to the budget after the generous gift from the town of Grand Bay-Westfield. So we think we've made up that shortfall.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy and then Deputy Mayor Toole.
I have two questions, but I'll ask one. In regards to the pool, are you looking to have a new one or purchase one that may be already existing?
I know what you're getting at, but our plan is to purchase, or to build it.
So to go one,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Up at the Four Corners?
No, we're looking, it's not decided yet.
We don't have a plan, it's just kind of a, a vision that we
It's on your
have.
wish list.
It's a big-
Yes. Okay. And one other question just quickly, when you, how often do you, are you able to access the church and the gym downstairs? And would that be an additional gym that you could use more often when maybe River Valley and Westfield Elementary School aren't available?
Yeah, we do use that. We do use that for activities.
And is that, is there a big cost involved in that, or do you just make a donation, or?
It's just a donation, yeah.
Well, I'm not overly familiar with the church we're in this year, but just where it's kind of out there, the community center is kind of more of a centralized place where people don't know that we get as much involvement.
Yeah, we're finding that too, like the community, the men that run, or the men, I guess, that run the basketball and the badminton, for some reason, they don't wanna spend 10 minutes going that way, but they'll spend 10 minutes going into St. John. So that's the problem, so we've got badminton, but you gotta travel towards Westfield. Sorry. But it's, yeah. But yeah, no, the Nerpus Baptist Church has been really supportive.
It's great, yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor Toole, and then Councillor Bill.
Thank you.
And just quick, I mentioned, just to clarify, you wanted some of the funding to go towards some financial,
Yes, a financial review or audit of our past statements. So in order to apply for larger grants, they insist we have a financial review just to make sure that our revenues and expenses align.
and I just, super quick note, I love the idea of something once a month, I think that's great.
Yeah. Yes, that's kind of what we're envisioning.
Yeah.
Thanks. Councillor Billman?
The former worksafe buildings to the pool there, maybe is that too far away for you, or?
No, that is.
Cause that would be something we can talk with them and say they have a gymnasium, they have everything there, so that future schools would have a lot of stuff. You could probably say, can we help out, or could we latch on somehow, or?
Apparently the pool is not very big though. It's
Well,
just.
It's better than nothing right now,
Yeah.
until we figure out what we're doing, right, and we all work together and maybe get the pool and all that, so for seniors, for everybody to use year round.
Yeah.
So, we said shelf soft, right? That's what you want, year round's better than just a few months a year, right? So,
We do.
just a
Do we
thought.
have any other questions from council? I've got your newsletter here, I'll pass this around to council now so that they have that. And thank you very much for coming and presenting.
Thank you very much.
the work
Thank you for
that you've done in the community. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just one here. So the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive this information for budget discussion. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole, and a second from Councillor Murphy, thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 7F, splash pad, we have Abby Belleville here.
No, she's not here.
Oh, is she not here? Okay, all right, well, we will, in the absence of Ms. Belleville, we will move on to item 7G, Royal Canadian Baby Branch 22 Legion, and that's Corey Ryan, and Councillor Belleville will be joining the audience for this presentation. Welcome, Corey, and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving me the opportunity to talk tonight. So tonight, the Legion, thankful and are being invited to put a proposal for the budget of 2025. We've been working on our Veterans Peace Park for 3-4 years now, and we're pretty proud of where we've come to so far on the progress we've made and the donations that we've received from CIF and CMEI and community organizations. This is our final phase of what we're proposing for the Veterans Peace Park, which was done in 2021 with Glen Group as their architectural diagram. I'm first going to go through a few slides of where we came from and how much that cost and how much money we've raised for those parts of the park. In this year was first of all, in 2021 was the Brendan and Glen Group, which was about $3,700 of work in 2021 that we did. This year is 2022. The total work in 2022 was close to $62,000. That included new flagpoles, new lamp posts, and LEDs on the trees in the park. And as well, the town care of the sculpture from Sculpture St. John. Is there LED park? Our Veterans Peace Park sign. 2023 was a big year where we redid the walkway in, the Peace Walk, and followed by the Peace Plaza up front with the carved benches that are donated from residents of the community in honor of veteran. That phase in 2023 was close to $56,000. This year was, I guess, our proudest one of all of them, and just to highlight our 5 stones that we had placed at the park, engraving names of veterans of the past and our veterans currently serving. This part of the project was about $43,000. So over the past 3 years, the total of fundraising that we have done between grants and local community support was $164,000 of funding to the park so far. We're proud of that. It's come a long way. The final phase of our 2025 plan is a retaining wall along River Valley Drive and an indigenous garden planted along the top of that garden, of that wall. Here are a couple of artist renditions of that wall, and this shows you more of a whole aspect of it. The stones that are there are called a Rosetta Stone, and they would match the current town stone and architecture along that is at the end of Colonel Nick Boulevard. Stone there, so it kind of match the same theme and gravity. The plan would be to have a flower garden along the top, and most of it would, poppies, and a lot of it would be included with consultation with the indigenous population for some indigenous grasses and shrubs along the top. So our objective, as I said, in 2025 is to complete this in one phase, not several phases to get the wall and the flower garden all done in one. And part of that is for funding of Crane Mountain and other funding requests that we're going to have. They kind of have different end budget years. The retaining wall, quote in on that retaining wall is $100,000. The indigenous garden, about $10,000. So a total budget for 2025 cost on that would be about $110,000. That's given that with our quote that we have, we were looking at today's dollars versus the potential of what it could be next year as a potential cost increase. So that's including that potential cost. Our proposed funding for this is first of all, having it funded through the town and the town have the project so that we could have an RDC grant of max 40% on that, which would be $44,000. The Legion, we would guarantee that we'd be able to have at least $10,000 committed towards that. And the ask would be to the town of Bay-Westfield to budget for up to $56,000. And I say up to $56,000. And where that comes from is that we have that stability of $56,000, and anything over and above the $10,000, which the Legion brings in during that period of time, whether it's through grant applications through Community Investment Fund, Indigenous grants, Veterans Affairs, that would contribute towards it as well, cutting down the $56,000 request. Our funding requests are our funding sources, possible funding resources. And essentially we're asking this because we don't have the financial capacity to have $66,000 out of the Legion budget to complete the final phase of this project that we've been working on over the years. So again, come back to the fact that if we're asking for a $56,000 commitment in the 2025 budget, given that anything above the 10 that we are proposing, we will give back to Bay-Westfield and cut down on
Any questions?
Thank you, Corey. I'll open up the floor to council. Any questions from council? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence?
Just for clarification, so there's potential that we would get the entire 56,000 back, and there's also potential that we would get none of it back.
Correct.
Any other questions from council on the presentation? Councillor Bellamy?
It's quite a focal point in town, driving by that, and when you see it, it's a wow factor for our town. It's a plus for our town, and recognize all the veterans in our community.
I echo that.
Councillor Burke and Councillor Day?
So with the retaining wall, would that be done in all one time or in phases or just one time?
Councillor Day?
I was just echoing Mr. Bailey's comments because it's really turned out very, very nice.
Do you have any other questions or comments from council? Thank you, Corey. You've done a wonderful job, and I know that it's been a labor of not just days or months, but years in the making. So thank you for your work on that. Thank you to Councillor Balcom as well for his participation in the committee and making the Peace Park what it is today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive as information for budget discussions. Do I have a motion? Councillor Bellamy, thank you. Second by Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And Councillor Balcom, welcome to rejoin us. And we have item 7H, Westfield Wharf. We have John Taylor making a presentation. Welcome, John. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you all again. So, I am here to encourage the council to refurbish the Westfield Wharf. It is depicted there, of course, and trying to have a couple of photos flash through the whole time, and I'm hoping they don't go too quick. So we'll start it again there for some other views. But the Westfield Wharf is a valuable piece of the town's built heritage and recreational infrastructure, which really should be preserved for the next generation. Ongoing efforts to repair former steamboat wharves by the St. John River Society through various grants are currently creating momentum for refurbishing these structures throughout the lower Williston. Council should seize the opportunity to explore how the town of Grand Bay-Westfield can be part of this larger initiative. So we're going to start with some big picture history. The steamboat era of New Brunswick's lower Wolastoq, or St. John River, spanned 130 years. From 1816 to 1946, steamboats transporting passengers and freight from wharf to wharf were fixtures of the river below Fredericton. During this period, over 100 wharves were erected for the convenience of the steamers, navigating the lower Wolastoq and its tributaries Grand Lake, Belle Isle Bay, and the Kennebecasis River. These stopping points were vital connections to the markets of St. John for the region's farming and cottage communities. I really enjoy these old photos here because, they're interesting. The steamboats are quite romantic, but the wharves are quite important because, this can be anywhere. This can be anything. For me, it doesn't become real until you have that kind of physical infrastructure you can look at and get that connection, because really all we see on the river today are ferries, bay liners, nothing that compares to this. This is crazy, at least for me. So these wharves were originally made of wood and stone cribbing. Many steamboat wharves were later reinforced with concrete in the 1920s and 1930s, and that gives them their iconic profile that you see today, where they have the various piers and all that. We used to have one on our former logo, so you'll be all very familiar with that. 45 of the iconic wharves are still here today, nearly a century later, but only a fraction are actually well maintained. The Westfield Wharf is one of 36 remaining wharves that are conditionally available for public use, but more importantly, it's one of only a handful reserved exclusively for public use by a municipal government. And I wanted to bring it to your attention this budget cycle because the St. John River Society, a non-for-profit organization which owns 13 of the remaining steamboat wharves, recently received nearly $1 million from the Canada Community Building Fund to enable major repairs across their wharf network. The ongoing work will extend the lifespans of these heritage wharves by 20 to 30 years and ensure continued public access to the river and its tributaries. As mentioned, Grand Bay-Westfield is home to another one of these wharves. Originally constructed in 1872, the Westfield Wharf has fallen into disrepair over the last few years. Some recent photographs here from 2023 show an increased presence of trees and brush on the wharf deck, a depressed and broken deck cap, spalled and cracked concrete, and a dislodged miniature pier. That's that thing in the corner there. I know that we don't often think of what these things are called, but that's actually one of only 2 in the entire wharf system. Most of the piers are like, 1.5 meters tall. This is one of only 2 that's really tiny. Westfield Wharf is a long-lived staple of the town's heritage and recreational infrastructure, and it really is in danger of falling into an irreparable state without due attention. Now, of course, since the erection of the Brunch Point River Center, the wharf and adjacent boat launch are no longer the primary public access point for the town's boaters. We use it sometimes when there's need for extra capacity, but really the wharf's value today is a heritage one. But also, it is located next to a provincially owned sand beach, which makes it an ideal contributor to the goals of the town's Parks and Recreation Master Plan, as its repair offers co-benefits that go beyond its heritage value. These are some of the other wharves that I've visited. Just wanted to give a few examples of real things that have happened. They've been repurposed with swimming infrastructure to have safe recreational practices. They've been redeveloped to accommodate new boat traffic. They sell ice cream, and sometimes they're just the center point of a public park. I'm also a big believer in the wharf's potential as an intermunicipal tourist destination, comparable to the province's lighthouses and covered bridges. I'll admit that is a rather niche market at the moment, but I do think momentum is building, and it's important for Grand Bay-Westfield to be a place that has a wharf rather than the ruins of a wharf, as many places in our region do. So to my recommendations, I'd like to recommend that Council ask staff to explore funding options to repair the Westfield Wharf. This can be limited to just repairing the damage that's been done over the last few years, but it really should explore the possibility of delivering other co-benefits. I would also recommend that we consult with the St. John River Society. Their wharf committee includes folks with expertise working with the Department of Public Works, that was the department that dealt with these things while they were owned by the government. The folks that they have there have really great knowledge about, what's actually wrong with them, how long can they last, what do they need, what does it cost to repair them, things of that nature. But also we should explore collaboration opportunities with the other municipal wharf owners. The Village of Arcadia really comes to mind here. I think they have 4 in their possession, and I'm not really sure if it helps or not, but there is a possibility of maybe applying in collaboration with them. It seems that the St. John River Society had luck applying as a network as opposed to a single structure, and we could replicate that in the future. I am happy to take questions, unless you formally need to ask them if they have questions.
Thank you, John.
Happy to talk about wharves.
Yes. Happy to open the floor to questions from Council. Councilor Bellmans and then Councilor Burke.
So I question, is Steve just coming back to town, or?
I wish. You ever seen the one that comes from the marina? It's not steam, obviously.
No, I know it is.
I've never been on it.
Just a joke, but I find that the work by Brunch Point is so disrepair. How would you fix that? And how much money would it cost to bring up stuff?
Well, that's the thing. In terms of money, the only number I can give you is from like 100 years ago, when it used to cost like $3,000. That's the only
So what's it now equivalency of the repair?
I'm not sure yet, but if you ask the St. John River Society folks, they would have a better estimate. I was talking with one of the folks who went and did the assessments, and they would, do like a visual assessment, obviously, but they also had somebody dive under and look at, like, as much as it looks like it might be damaged on the top, the real issues are underneath, where everything is sinking down. And so, I'm not an engineer, I'm an amateur historian.
But I see it's so disrepair, it might be better off to remove it and make a wider beach down the road. That's what I think.
And other people have done that.
There's be a lot of money to fix that wharf, and it costs a lot of taxpayers. Grand Bay-Westfield.
Oh, of course.
Put their money in a wharf that is so disrepaired. I don't know. It looks terrible. We have a lot of upstream already. They're 10 times better than that, and they're maintained in LSDs, and they're they're bigger. This is a little. It's very small.
Oh yeah, no, and you know what? I admit that, and I do commend the folks in the LSDs who are doing it as like voluntary associations, but. I don't know. I would not feel right if I didn't at least ask council to look into what it would cost.
Come up and maybe plug into a plug-in system for their boats, maybe electric boats, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Well, no, but I appreciate the concerns, and obviously, I'm not looking to bankrupt anybody, but I wouldn't feel right if I didn't at least
But
ask.
I see a price tag with cost repair, that's all, of course.
Councillor Burpee and then Councillor Day.
Actually, Councillor Bailman's asked the question I was mostly concerned with. It looks like it's in pretty bad shape and considerable cost and that. So you've answered that too, so thank you.
Councillor Day.
When we did the Brundage Point River Center, we looked at that wharf, and you should have paperwork somewheres about all we looked at. And the cost was humongous. And knowing the time frame that has happened since we did that, and today it's probably grown even more. And then there was an issue with the beach because the beach is owned by the province. And I'll leave it at that point.
Thank you, Councillor. We have any,
Sorry, Councillor, just a clarification. About what year was that?
Oh, come on, John. I just remembered that we did it.
When you built from that point, that area.
Yeah, it'd be about in that era, because we looked at that wharf long and hard. And I know that Dylan, I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name, of who did the studies, and it was before the gentleman that we deal with now, Clayton Rogers. I had to take a minute, yeah.
So John, this is 2006 up here. You're probably looking at 2005, 2006 for those.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, there you go, John. That's what happens when you're dealing with a historian. Got the years done. Do we have any other questions for John?
I got one more question, I don't wanna make you sense. If the wharf were removed and the ferry system could move their ferry system over to where the wharf is, will make more room for Brundage Point, maybe for parking and for a facility maybe, or a little bigger area for the town to take over, and maybe it might make some money maybe through rentals and maybe a bigger facility for the Brundage Point. So that's why I see it, I want to see the bang for the buck for our residents of our town, right?
And I don't want to undermine my point here, but because I like this stuff, I'm going to tell you about it. So we actually have already moved over a little bit, and this is just one half of what used to be there. And so, yeah, that process has already happened once before. This used to be like a high and low water wharf.
Yeah,
we might have pictures elsewhere.
Remove the ferry lane, the ferry for the lane right now, over to where the wharf is, and make more room for parking for Brundage Point.
Well, it's not for me to say, it is possible.
Yeah, I think that's something that
Yeah,
we
that's an
discuss
idea.
in capital.
Yeah.
So, we don't have any more questions for John. John, thank you very much for the
Yeah, thanks for having me.
educational presentation. It's always good to learn about the history of our town, and we appreciate the love that you have for the wharfs in the St. John River, so.
Always happy to talk about it.
Yes, always appreciate having you. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you,
Have you given to the one?
Dave.
The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive as information for budget discussions. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councilor McIntosh, Lawrence, and seconded by Councilor Belknap. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council. 7I, Eddie Medical Education Foundation, that was a previous presentation. This item was addressed August 12th, 2024, item 7B. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the information as presented, and that we defer this item to be discussed during budget deliberations. And that was motioned by Councilor McIntosh Lawrence and seconded by Councilor Falcon. It was carried by council, so that will be part of budget deliberations. We'll now move on to item 8, adjournment. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adjourn the meeting at 8:41 p.m. Do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Toole, seconded by Councilor Burpee. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council, and thank you.